Well, welcome to another night of observing with Emerald Hill Skies. My name is Doug Lucas, and I'm here on the outskirts of Louisville, Kentucky, and we're glad you're with us tonight to continue in our journey of working our way through Stephen James O'Meara's list of hidden treasures. We have the scope queued up on our first object, which is an open cluster in Camelopardalis, NGC 1502 on the hidden treasures list. It's object number 23. And we're glad you're with us. We hope you can follow along, maybe Google NGC 1502 and see what you can find out about it. Let's head on over to the screen and let's try to figure out what we see here. You can see right here in the middle is this open cluster, and sure enough, that is it. This is NGC 1502, and I don't think we have to live stack this. It's already right there in front of us. Let's click Add Observation, make sure that our session is coming up okay. Yep, the session is there, and we can say about this cluster, looked like around 50 members. But let's see what Stephen James O'Meara said about this. This is, as we said, object number, what was it? What was it? I've forgotten now which object it was. Number 23. Okay, so let's start that observation again. Number 23. So we'll look that up. Oh, let me get started here on the monitor. Let's see. I'm going to come back out of here and get things queued up so I can see what you guys are seeing. There we are, and we'll check that audio to make sure we're live on the audio. Yep, looks good. Ricky, good to have you here. Azray, hello from out in Arizona. Glad you're here. Object number 23. Let's look this up. Looks like in Steve O'Meara's book, NGC 15. Where's 23? We jumped from 22 to 24. How can this be? What in the world? Stephen James O'Meara, are you going to let us down? There's 25 and 26. So I bet 23 is around here somewhere, isn't it? There it is, 21 and 23. He's got these two objects together, so they might be in the same frame. Kimball's Cascade, that must be 21. And we're on 23 here. The Jolly Roger, he calls it. An open cluster in Camelopardalis. So let's find our title here and change our title name. This is X23 NGC 1502 and open cluster in Camelopardalis. Something like that. Okay. William Herschel, who discovered this cluster, wrote, "A cluster of stars, pretty rich and considerably compressed." NGC catalog says cluster pretty rich, considerably compressed. And he tells some stories about it. Look at that nice looking satellite or airplane. I think that was an airplane, perhaps. To this day, we still look up into the night and see these age-old patterns. And he tells a history of how it was discovered. 1502. Let's see, still trying to get to 1502. He keeps talking about Kimball's Cascade, which we saw the other night. Borrowing from the pages of J.M. Barrie's play Peter Pan, he says he sees 1502 as Captain Hook's ship, the Jolly Roger. Does this look like Captain Hook's ship? What do you think, Ricky? What do you think, Azray? Does this look like Captain Hook's ship? It's moored in Kidd's Creek, under a thick fog. Maybe this is Tinkerbell, he says, her luminous fairy friends dancing unnoticed. The fact that NGC 1502 is a true cluster does little to stifle the imagination, who would argue that NGC 1502 with its magnificent doubles, it does have a few nice doubles, huh? Does not have the power to grab our attention and not let go. No, even on the coldest of winter nights, by the way, it's going to hit 32 tonight, or 34 here in Louisville, the opportunity to see a little line of stars splashing down into a galactic cluster spanning more than 15 light years across space gives us the peace and serenity we see each time we step outside our telescopes, even if it only means to go off to bed with a sigh and a smile. What was all that about? So he didn't say much about 1502. Azray says, not to me. It doesn't look like the Jolly Roger. What about Tinkerbell, Azray? Here in our observation, let's just say, oh my goodness, there's JM making a $4 super chat, offering a cup of coffee. JM, you are stupendous. This cup of coffee we give in honor of these two families that are trying to make ends meet in Afghanistan tonight. And then tonight, since it's going to be 34 degrees in Louisville, it makes me think of how cold they must be in Afghanistan. JM says we'll have to catch the replay, so you've got to make it on your way. But thank you for that super chat. If you guys have liked content like this, or if you like this channel, please do hit subscribe and that thumbs up. And JM is setting the bar high if you want to do a super chat there. All right, so let's do in the notes here. Notwithstanding Steve O'Meara's Tinkerbell, as Ray says, description that was laced with pirate metaphors, we just saw this as a tight cluster with lots of double stars. See, if you zoom in, you can see double there and a double there and a double there, so several doubles. We're at 105%. Actually, there are quite a few more, like dimmer, fainter stars. So we guessed around 80 members visible to us at 3-second exposures. 400 gain. So we're not really stacking this, but as Ray says, it might look like Tinkerbell, so we're going to go with that. All right, for our next object, we have a galaxy, and it's NGC 2655. And let's see where it is in the sky. NGC 2655. Oh, how can that be? It's currently supposed to be at an altitude of 26.7. Show chart. So it's definitely not working there. Let's see if we can slew to it here. Slew to it. There's the view of the scope. We'll see where the scope goes. By the way, we're using a RASA 11 tonight, and that's what you see slewing there, over there, in that Tele-Station 2, that Pier-Tech Tele-Station 2 observatory. You see the weights are now rising east. The telescope is Pier west. This camera view looks up over the pier due north. So you can see this scope is now turning toward the northwest, maybe a little bit. And the view is settling in. This is our second target. So let's do a plate solve just to see how close we are. It's supposed to be at 26 degrees above the horizon. Looks pretty low on the horizon there, doesn't it? You can see tonight there's quite a bit of moonlight and also light pollution in our sky cam view. Take a look at the sky cam view. Quite a bit of light pollution and quite a bit of moonlight that you can see. Meanwhile, back here on our screen, you can see there was a 0.81 degree reconciliation between the view that the scope was looking at and the view that our software SharpCap had in its memory. Azray says it should be in Camelopardalis. That's correct. Dark Meta, welcome back, Dark Meta. Good to have you. Let's put the target name in here in case we want to do a. This is NGC 2655, and then in our screen, we'll go ahead and put here NGC. Oh, by the way, this is object 48, X48 on the hidden treasures list, NGC 2655, and this is a galaxy in Camelopardalis. Gonna get a little bit colder tonight. Maybe somewhere around 34 degrees, freezing. Let's back off just a little. And then let's start live stacking. We're going to change our exposure to 20 seconds and change our gain to 100. And then let's start the live stack. You can see something fuzzy there in the middle. I don't know if you're making it out yet. But it is right there in the middle. And there the screen goes weird colors. So let's do a live stack. I mean a kind of an automated stretch in our live stack histogram and pull our blacks right about there and then pull our mids up a little bit. You can see this looks like it's maybe an elliptical galaxy, I think. Let's see what Steve O'Meara says about this. David, good to have you on board. From New Brunswick, Canada, a small town called Saint Cecile. And you're under the weather. So sorry to hear that, David. I hope you recover soon. Thank you for being able and willing to tune in here, even though it's getting late for you perhaps in New Brunswick. I hope you can cook up some New Brunswick stew there and get better. It will get to the brutally cold temperature of 65 for you tonight, Dark Meta. Object number 48. Dark Meta, you're like in South Carolina, aren't you? A mixed lenticular galaxy. How about that? It's a very neglected extragalactic wonder that circles the north celestial pole a little more than 10 degrees from Polaris. It is circumpolar from most of the northern hemisphere and is visible on any clear night. How it must move through the night, as quiet as a librarian's whisper. Where does he think this stuff up? For so few observers to take notice, but this beauty is as bright and obvious as, and then he mentions a couple of others like NGC 5866 in Draco. Then he tells some of the history. He says that it belongs to the Ursa Major cloud of galaxies. It travels away from us at the dizzying speed of 1,445 kilometers per second. That is very fast. It's a sizable system having a true linear diameter of 135,000 light years, so a little bigger than our Milky Way. Total luminosity of 40 billion suns. It might have the presence of a bar. Now, that doesn't mean they serve alcoholic drinks in X48. It means that it might have that bar across the middle of it. It could be a transitional lenticular system with a spiral structure. We're going to see if we can pull out any of that spiral structure, but we can't see it so far. A galaxy with amorphous arms. Very peculiar. In photographs, the galaxy displays a smooth oval disk. That's more what we have, isn't it? It's 29 degrees from face on. Dark Meta, North Carolina. Okay. On the peninsula. Usually on the island here. On the bar. Very faint and diffuse outer arms extend beyond the galaxy's shapeless outer halo in smooth whorls. We don't see those whorls yet, but we'll see if we can grab any of that. So far, we're just 3 minutes. So a probable black hole exists in the middle of that swirly core. It says frictional heat causes everything to turn into concentrated plasma. Yikes. It'll be strong jet-like features extending 6,000 light years southeast of the nucleus. Wow. And a weaker jet about 15,000 light years to the northwest. I don't know if we're seeing those jets yet. Are you guys? Let's zoom in a little more. And let's up our mids, even though it's going to cause things to go haywire. At 4 minutes, no jets. I can tell by this crazy pixel here that we don't have the right darks applied here. So let's go to pre-processing. And let's see, we want to subtract this dark. 22, July 6th. 2022, July 6th. There's a May 9th. Yeah, this is the one we want to subtract. So on the next stack, it'll get rid of that green hot pixel there. I'm wondering if there's something different about but I'm not seeing any jets yet. Trying to tune for those jets. Huh. Are you guys seeing any jets? There is a funny thing going on right there, isn't it? Let's do another color balance. And then there's another, like a dust trail right here, isn't there? Showing up. We're at 6 minutes, so not a whole lot more I think we're going to see. Dark Meta's talking about seeing the sky over the ocean, the ISS. But amorphous outer envelope, faint spiral structure. Otherwise, it just looks like a little bit of an oval, doesn't it? Looking at NGC 2655 through a small backyard telescope is like standing in front of a closed door while a silent murder is going on behind it. What was he on when he wrote this? It's a challenge to find. We didn't have any trouble finding it with our iOptron CEM 70G mount, did we? Let's see. Couldn't see the galaxy in binoculars, but it swells to egg-shaped in scopes. Fuzzy bead of light surrounded by an elliptical inner lens. Looks more like a planetary nebula than a galaxy. You can see the western flank of the bright inner lens appearing dappled. Couldn't see any definite dark features. The dust must be responsible for the modeling effect. Our histogram's gotten a little messed up here, hasn't it? For instance, we have a little bit of a problem with our color balancing. Let's get our blacks adjusted correctly. ISS just passed a little while ago, Ricky says, over his skies. Yep, I think we're one of the ones who's going to see some just amorphous mob here for NGC 2655. Let's do our observation, and let's say many might have just passed by this oval lens, an amorphous blob. It's a mixed lenticular, according to O'Meara. Tell you what, this moon tonight is playing havoc with us. We have a 100% moon tonight, 100% moonlight. Somebody asked me today, are you sure you want to observe tonight since the moon's so bright? And I said, you know, we almost make it a point to observe when there's a bright moon because we want to be able to prove that you don't have to just give up observing just because there's a moon out. So I think we're seeing quite a lot out of this object. I think we're going to go ahead and save it there as seen. We are making out a little bit of the outer halo. I'm not sure we've been able to see arms yet. Tell you what, let's do NGC 2655. Let's go to Hubble and see if we can find NGC 2655 wiki and see if there are any images. Well, this is what the Hubble saw, and honestly, with the exception of this kind of like coffee-colored dirt in front of it, I'm not really sure that I would have expected to see much more than that. I see, we're downloading the galaxy here. Oh my goodness, that's bright. So this is our amorphous mob, and then this kind of looks like some dark material in front of it that the Hubble saw. Pretty fascinating view, but not that different than this view that we're seeing. We're just not seeing that dark material in front of it that the Hubble saw, are we? Okay, let's call it a day there. And we're going to run our sequencer program called Next Target. And our next target is X66. That's NGC 4605. So let's slew to that. Oh my goodness, it's a beautiful little airplane photobombing into our frame there, isn't it? This is NGC 4605. 4605. Stu! It's great to see you, Stu. Azray says, not that exciting. Stu found another picture. You want us to go back to Wikipedia and look at the other picture. Okay. Oh, look at this. You're right, Stu. From PlaneWave, CDK 24. That is a much more interesting view. Boy, I wish we'd seen this when our image was up, because I would have loved to see if we could. I wonder if we were maybe making out this little dust lane here. I would have loved to have seen if we could see one of these jets. Fascinating, Stu. Thanks for pointing that out to us. Good catch. All right, so we're here. We're gonna let us see. Stu, you're great. 66, X66, X66, X66. And let's see. NGC 4605, the Fabergé egg, the Frankenstein galaxy. What do you think of that? It's a dwarf barred spiral galaxy. Stu, good to have you aboard. I hope you can see the image now. It's in Ursa Major. Let's change the name down here as well. This is X66 NGC 4605, a galaxy in Ursa Major. Well, you can already see a galaxy there, can't you? Let's bring our black level over a bit so that we darken our sky just a little bit, and then bring up the mids the best we can, and then let's zoom in a little and see this Frankenstein monster. Now some of that grain will clear up as we begin accumulating additional frames. It's a peculiar dwarf galaxy seen 21 degrees from edge on. He says it received some incidental recognition after January 96 when the public first saw the now famous Hubble Deep Field, a 10-day-long Hubble Space Telescope exposure. And actually this galaxy became the milepost that amateurs could use to find that view of the Hubble Deep Field. Amateurs don't commonly target the galaxy, probably because it has tough competition for the better-known Ursa Major galaxies. 19th century observers kind of ignored it. Just looks like a small, slightly elongated patch, yes. Similar in size to the large Magellanic Cloud. It's a member of the M81 galaxy group, Stu says, along with Messier 81 and Messier 101. Can look like a slightly fuzzy egg. I guess so. It's clearly oval. Only the bright core emerges from the sky background in some scopes. But if you sweep back and forth, it can look like an elongated, very slender, suspiciously beaded. Has a warped bar. Mottled texture. Yes, we're seeing the mottled texture. The northwestern side is visibly thicker. You must take your time with this galaxy because it has a wealth of fine details. With its slender waves of light and star-studded face, it looks like a translucent Fabergé egg with enameling. What? Where does he get these imaginative images in his mind? I guess that's just at 3 minutes. Wiki picture is good, Asri says. We'll go to the wiki picture. It looks like it has some cut precious gems in it for decoration. 3 main components. First, there's the galaxy's core. It's the nebulous stellar knot that appears to be northwest of center. We're starting to see that now. It burns forth like candlelight seen through gauze. Second, there's a beaded whisker of light. Third, the southeast section looks like an attached miniature barred spiral galaxy. It's a marvel. The northwest whisker has a wiggle to it. You think? The circular core region itself breaks down into finer details. The core is fanned and serrated to the north. This guy. A dark wedge separates the core from the rest of the southeastern component, which appears as a tiny fleck of light. It's located in Ursa Major, but it belongs to the Coma Sculptor cloud of galaxies. So he called it a dwarf barred spiral. A dwarf barred spiral. Dwarf barred spiral in Ursa Major. Complicated core. Which appears slightly off-center to us. Red and blue, as Ray says, like M82. You know, you might be right. Let's do another color balance here. And pump up the mids a bit. Boy, it does look like just a weird shaped galaxy, doesn't it? Let's go to the Hubble view. We're looking for NGC 4605. That is pretty cool, isn't it? Yeah. Wow, look at all those. That does look like a bunch of jewels, doesn't it? Boy, does that look like a mixed up galaxy or what? Look at all this, what would that be? Just dark matter and dust? Carbon? Like the kind of carbon that accumulates in your lawnmower carburetor or something? Excuse me. Now there's a starlight we can see just right there. Here's some kind of a swish down here. The Hubble view is so close. I don't know if we're seeing that swish. There's something jutting out there, but honestly, this might be that thing. That looks like an elliptical galaxy on its own, and that might be what one of these is. Well, that's 7 minutes. Let's save as seen for NGC 4605. Looks like the dark matter between the two colors, yep. Chris Hoagland, thanks for the encouragement. You're over in Middletown doing some EAA before letting the rig work on some astrophotography overnight. Love catching your videos. You're very kind. So Middletown, you would just be like 10 minutes away from here. That's awesome, Chris. Thanks for checking in. Wow, we're really seeing the reds and blues now, aren't we? At 8 minutes. I'm going to save that one more time because it seems like those reds and blues just popped out. All right, let's go to our next target and complete this observation. At 8 minutes, we started seeing some of the reds and blues. I just want to make sure everybody remembers we're observing on a night with 100% full moon. This is huge moonlight, and yet we've still seen some really cool stuff already, haven't we? Let's go to this planetary nebula 6445. So again, we'll watch the scope slew to that. It's just taking a bit of a left turn. So that would be pointing west now. And still making its turn through the night. The designator of this is 6445. Now we click OK there, and then we have, in the sequence, the programming, we have a little prompt that comes up and says, has the mount settled? See how those stars are still kind of a little bit oval. Now they're starting to settle down. Yeah, now they're pinpoint. I don't know where this planetary nebula is. There's a little line right there. Oh, that looks like a little satellite that's very dim in the night. Super dim, making its way across the sky. Whoops. Sorry, put you guys back on screen. There's a little satellite there making its way across right there. Let's change our title here. This is X84. And it's NGC 6445. 6445. It's a planetary nebula. Planetary nebula in SGR. Is that Sagittarius? How do you spell Sagittarius? 2 R's maybe? No. 2 T's maybe. We're going to find out. We're going to go to Stephen James O'Meara, object number 84, X84. And drum roll, Sagittarius 2 T's. Is that what I have? Yes. It's about 4,500 light years away. Dark Meta says, I turned my whole room red with LEDs now. While watching this, LOL, it's very red in here. Dark Meta, you're great. Stu says it's a bipolar planetary nebula. I'm sure there's some medicine for that, Stu, that we can get it. Sagittarius, right. O'Meara writes, of all the deep sky objects in the heavens, planetary nebulae are among the most exotic and photogenic. You know what? I think we're seeing it right there in the middle. Let's do another, well, let's just move our darks over so we set a new threshold for darks. And let's zoom in on this. Now that's 100%. And look at how we now see what Stu meant when he said a bipolar planetary nebula. It's characterized by 2 lobes either side of a central star. Okay, let's let it percolate there for a minute. Their largely symmetrical shells take on all manner of colorful shapes and forms, including rings, butterflies, hourglasses, spheres, and eye-like ellipses. He says, this hidden treasure adds another dimension to the celestial zoo of expelled gas, namely a box. Huh, it does kind of look like a box. And he talks about astronomers used to think these were progenitor stars. He tells a little bit of the history of people who found planetary nebulae. This is one of the largest known planetary nebulae. You would never know it from our picture, huh? It also means it's among the oldest. It is also asymmetrical, with the brighter portion, as Heber Curtis Lick Observatory described in 1918, the brighter portion is a very irregular square-shouldered ring, beyond which extended very faint ansae. What are ansae? It has also been likened into a coral atoll and an enclosed lagoon. You can spot it because it's brighter. looks annular. Actually, it's more like two offset arcs of light. Boy, look at the way, can you make out some colors there? Maybe reds and greens? Jessica Lucas! Do you guys realize that Jessica Lucas is my niece? And she has tuned in tonight. Jessica, we welcome you. Let's see. Stu says this is also known as the Little Jim Nebula or the Box Nebula. And Azray, Stu said, Stu, you typed too fast for me. Stu says I copy paste. And Azray says that makes sense. You guys. Let's see. What is the deal with these fainter stars? The most prominent knots lie to the south and east, though these may be dim stars projected against the nebula in this rich field. The central star is 19th magnitude. Okay, we're going to start zooming in here and see if we can see any. No, we're not going to be able to see any central star, I don't think. Let's darken the background up a little bit. Boy, you know, there might be a star, what do you think, right here? Hello, Kimberly from Florida. Jessica puts a smiley face there. Jordan. Jordan is my nephew. This is like nephew and niece night. Jordan and Jessica, welcome. We're taking a look here at Stephen O'Meara's catalog object X84, otherwise known as NGC 6445. It's a planetary nebula. And you guys know what planetary nebulae are, I bet. It's where something like a red giant star begins to lose a lot of its inner fuel, and it can no longer continue with its atomic fusion, at which time it kind of loses its ability to be a star, and the outer shell of gas just goes whoo. Well, what we're observing here is the outer shell of gas that went whoo. And then this inner core that you see, what has happened here is what was left of that star shrunk down, made into a white dwarf, and now it's manufacturing starlight, and that is illuminating the material that was jettisoned, kind of like the way a neon light lights up outside a tattoo parlor or whatever, you know. So what you're seeing here in this box-shaped thing is that outer, that balloon-shaped whatever outer plasma that's being lit up from behind. Stu says, need more blue, or is the moon washing it out? Well, you might be right. Stu, we can add some blue. No, it doesn't look nice. Let's do another automatic color balance and see what the... Actually, I think that's pretty on track. I don't think there are a lot of blues in this object, Stu. Good to see you, Jordan. Good to have you here. All right, that's 7 minutes, so we're going to call it on this object. But it is interesting, isn't it, to have a planetary nebula. Fascinating. Okay, we're going to go to our sequencer and say next target. And at this point, SharpCap begins executing this bit of code. And we're going to say here on planetary nebula, there goes an airplane, I think, kind of photobombing us. We're going to say add observation. And we're going to say we could easily make out the outer box of plasma or material being lit up by a central white dwarf that we could only imagine. We were starting to see some reds and greens in the 7th minute of observation. All right. Well, you might notice if I pull our tracking software out here, we are seeing fewer and fewer targets left. What that means is we're kind of catching up to the time of year it is for the hidden treasures list. But now we still have 4 objects. So let's rerun this. Oh my. Actually, a couple of those had already gone below 20 degrees. So let's try to slew over to this one. There goes the scope. This object is X25, otherwise known as NGC 1528. NGC 1528. So now we can click on that OK. And then we get another dialog box in this little sequence. And it asks, has the scope settled? Well, as you can see, the scope has not yet settled. It is still pure shifting around the night sky. Marty, Andre, you're in London tonight, from Amsterdam to London. Did you come to London to watch a soccer game or whatever? Dark Meta, Doug has gone global. Marty, you'll find it interesting that my nephew Jordan and my niece Jessica are on board tonight. Isn't that interesting? Okay, now it looks like we've settled. So I'm going to click this OK here, and then it'll automatically start trying to plate solve this frame. And what we're looking at is an open cluster in Perseus. So let's go down here under the title text. And let's say that X25 NGC, otherwise known as NGC 1528, is an open cluster in Perseus. And there's the open cluster. So we started live stacking on it. This is X25 ASRAY. How do you like that scope mount? I use a CGXL for my scopes. You know, I think the CGXL has a better reputation, but I kind of like it. You know, it took me a while. We could call it a football. That's a good idea. Oh, we call it football. Got it. You were over in London for a football game. ASRAY, I think your mount is a little better than this. CEM70G iOptron makes. Yours has a better reputation. About object X25, Stu's brought us back to life here. Stu says it's clearly visible in 10 by 50 binoculars. 165 stars recognized as members, the brightest of which has an apparent magnitude of 8.7. So would you say that 25 and 26 are a kind of double cluster? M and M double cluster. No, M and M double cluster. Wonder why he calls it that. M and M 1528 in Perseus. We're looking here at 1528. How do I know that? Well, let's go up here under Tools and use Deep Sky Annotation. Yeah, it's saying this is 1528. Just a little bit off of the exact scale, but that's 1528 right there. He says, most people look at the double cluster that includes M34, but there is a rather distinctive cluster NGC 1528, which is casually overlooked in favor of its more popular neighbors. William Herschel called this cluster pretty much compressed clusters of light. Tells about some of the people who've seen it. He says that to the unaided eye, it looks like a jumble of mismatched suns in a milky haze. Glows like a gem, radiant cluster. It's indeed large and bright. Magnitude 8.7, splashed across 13 light years. Modestly young age stars. Says there's a teardrop asterism. M&M do the colors of stars, Azray says. Chris Hogan, I'm running the Sim 70G like Doug, and it's been great. Yay, Chris Hoagland. The Skittles Nebulae. Now, is this the teardrop, perhaps? This little, I bet that is. This little thing here would be the teardrop. An open cluster is a type of star cluster made up of a few thousand stars were formed from the same giant molecular cloud and have roughly the same age. Kimberly is laughing at the Skittles Nebulae idea that dark meta threw out. He says there's a pentagram here somewhere. He's always seeing these shapes, isn't he? Dim suns, about 3 dozen dim sun. Isn't that a kind of South Korean dish or something? By alternating between averted and direct gazes, the cluster's crisp background stars seem to appear and disappear like blinking on a Christmas tree. I'm not getting that. There are color differences. Fascinating. Definitely going into the pentagram thing. 25. Oh, I see. We're doing 26 next. So here's 25. We're going to say nice open cluster with a teardrop shape in the middle. Still with that rich field of stars, this cluster doesn't stand out as much as it would if it were in darkness, huh? All right, the other object here is NGC 1545, object X26. Wikipedia knows everything, Stu says. So why don't we save this as seen and then use our sequencer's pattern to go to the next target, which is 1545. GC 1545. We need to wait till the scope settles. I think this is the same cluster. In other words, it's not that there's a, maybe it's not that there's a 25 and a separate 26. It's that 25 and 26 are together, you think? Yeah. I'm wondering if maybe this is 26, you think? Ricky sees the pentagram. Oh, maybe I see the pentagram. Some of the points are stubbier than others, right? Not the same one, but close to it. Oh, look at that. We are moving. Ricky covers almost the whole field of view, I see. Once we're set here, oh, 1.5 degrees toward the northwest. And now I'm kind of eager to see this first exposure. This is like the old days when you have the paper and the developer and then it pops into view. It looks like the very same field of view to me. Here's that teardrop. Let's see if Deep Sky Image Annotation helps us. This says it's NGC 1528, not 1545. So maybe we ought to stop live stacking. Try this again. Maybe we didn't salute to it. You do know people that still develop by hand, huh? I'm going to remove these bothersome bots. Okay. Yeah. Stu says, I was wondering where my date was. Okay, now we're looking at NGC 1545. So we'll turn off Deep Sky Image Annotation as soon as we get control of the screen back. And let's start an observation of this. This is part of what O'Meara called the M and M clusters, double cluster. Boy, it might be 35 outside, but I'm getting a bit warm in here tonight inside this office. We are sitting about 200 feet from our Pier-Tech 2 Tele-Station, our Pier-Tech Tele-Station 2 roll-off roof observatory. You can see the RASA 11 on the CEM70G mount, which is on top of an adjustable height pier, also from Pier-Tech. And we're using an ASI2600MC Pro camera that's fastened to an Octopi-Astro interface or camera adapter that in turn is fastened to the front of that Celestron Rowe Ackerman Schmidt astrograph, 11-inch aperture. On top of the scope, there is a kind of outrigger equipment plate. And on that equipment plate, there's also a ZWO ASI2600MC mono camera, which is in the image there on your right. The mono camera is red with the black lens in front of it. And we have a little black dew zapper band of material around it to keep the dew off that lens, which is kind of exposed out in front. Behind the camera, you can see two blue boxes. The one on the top is the Pegasus-Astro. It's a kind of a micro-sized power box that Pegasus-Astro makes. It's stuck to the top of a Pegasus-Astro USB controller that is just an outstanding machine. Gives us software control of the USB jacks, or whatever you want to call those USB plugs on that lower box there. And this whole thing is spinning around on that iOptron CEM70G mount with an 8-inch pier extender that allows it just to lift barely above the roof line of this roll-off roof observatory. So that little monochrome camera you see there, the 178, is not connected to a telescope, but it lets us see this view of the sky. So that's kind of our sky cam to keep us sort of connected to the sky. And here is the live view of the scope. You can see we're looking just a little bit maybe east of north. And now back to the screen view. You can see we are looking at the NGC 1545 cluster. So let's get rid of our deep sky image annotation and zoom in on this cluster and see what you guys think it looks like. Boy, I'm having a hard time. I mean, this could be a stick figure man, couldn't it? Asray, 35, I'm still at 85. This could be a stick figure man, and these could be the stick figure legs. And he's pulling behind himself a snail. This is a snail shell, and there's the face of the snail out of the shell, which is inside of a shopping cart. He's pulling it along through the night sky. Now let's see if Omira came up with anything that interesting. 26. This is X26. NGC 1545. There's some dimmer suns swimming around the three brighter suns. You can see the three brighter suns there. About a dozen stars. A 5-pointed star-shaped pattern like a pentagram, the ancient Gnostic blazing star. Okay, I guess you can see those 5 spikes, huh? It's comprised of about a dozen 10th and 11th magnitude stars, many of which are in pairs. Okay. It appears to be surrounded by a ghostly mist that wafts in and out of view with averted and direct vision respectively. Looks like a starfish with antennae. I'm going to darken this just a shade. Darken the sky, and then raise up the mids. See if we can pull out any of that nebulosity. Not really much yet. Instead, the whole field just starts going lighter gray, not accomplishing our vision. There are a whole lot of stars in that field. It's rather crowded, isn't it? But this is our cluster here in the middle, a pentagram, or as Asray says, a starfish with antennae. Starfish with antennae. A starfish with antennae claimed Asray. Maybe a running man of sorts. See, these are his legs, and then he's got this full back, and he's sort of hunched over because he's running forward, and these are his arms. I don't know. Either way, let's snap a picture of it. Okay, so save that picture, and now let's go to next target. Now, according to our observing software, there are no more targets visible tonight with the hidden treasures. But let's do one thing. Let's go up here under horizontal position, and let's drop the lowest altitude to 10 degrees. Now let's rerun it. We did pick up a couple. Let's see if we can go down to 11 degrees. Here's NGC 7793. NGC 7793. We're slewing to it. NGC 7793 is object 109. Is that the last one? By the way, let's change our title slide before we forget. NGC 6544. A galaxy in SCL. What is SCL, pray tell? This is number 109. SCL is Sculptor. I don't know that we've ever observed in Sculptor or not. Sculptor. Interesting. Bond's galaxy, as in James Bond. 7793, a dwarf spiral galaxy. 9 million light years distant. NGC says it looks like a comet. Tucked away in the star-poor regions of southwestern Sculptor. And he tells where the location is. Found it while hunting. This guy, George Bond, found it while hunting for comets. I see a fry pan riding a giraffe. That's good. Looks like a starfish with antennae. Stu, 7793 is a flocculent spiral galaxy. Flocculent spiral. What a great name. Directly under the moon may not look great. Stu, was discovered in 1826 by Scottish astronomer James Dunlop. You know, like I say, I have this strong religious ethic, not really religious, but I have this ethic that says, let's try it. It is bright in the moonlight, isn't it? We're going to establish a new threshold for darks. Put it right there. And bring the mids up. I see something here. Very, very patchy. Apache. That's like the kind of Indian that it is. Native American, sorry. Wow. There's that moonlight coming in. Try to get rid of that. Let's zoom in on this baby. It's a dwarf spiral. Huh. It was discovered simultaneously, independently, by George Phillips Bond, so far just a lot of general history. It's a prototypical late type spiral galaxy with a total luminosity of 1.9 billion suns, inclined 40 degrees, 9 million light years as a guess. Its true linear diameter is a modest 23,000 light years. Belongs to the Coma Sculptor cloud of galaxies, also known as the South Polar group of galaxies. It says it's easier to find than some things he's tackled. Doesn't really break it down in a smaller view ever. This dwarf lenticular was positioned close to the sun. Said one observer. Gonna get rid of these scams. Because if you don't, you kind of litter up the queue there. 7793 Stu says it's one of the 5 brightest galaxies within the Sculptor group. One of the 5 brightest galaxies in the Sculptor group. All right. Boy, it's sure kind of patchy, isn't it? Like a blob. Look at that. You can bring those mids up. And you can see some material being flung out here. Darken the sky a little bit. Yeah, look, we're starting to see some material out here. Man, that's crazy, isn't it? Bots just never give up. Look at that on a 100% moonlit night. This is one reason why I almost make it a point to try to observe on a moonlit night. Because we want to show that EAA, it just sets itself apart. Electronically assisted astronomy just sets itself apart from visual astronomy. And really, I mean, no astrophotographer in his right mind would try to take these world famous NASA photos of the day kind of things on a 100% moonlit night. They just wouldn't do it, wouldn't waste their time. But with EAA, you can really explore. And you can see some things that visually would have been impossible to see because of all this stacking. We're at 6 minutes, which is not very long in astrophotography terms. Let's go up and find NGC 7793. NGC 7793 to see if there's a wiki page picture. Look at that. Now obviously the Hubble saw lots and lots of blue points of light. And I don't think you could ever say that we're seeing blue points of light, but we are seeing all this material that's hovering around, spinning around that bright core. And see the bright core, and then we're seeing all this material. I just got to say, I love EAA. I mean, I tried astronomy through an eyepiece for a couple of years around the year 2000, and honestly, I put the telescope in a closet and I kind of never got that into it until a friend asked me to show a homeschool group my telescope, and the friend said, "Doesn't it have a screen?" And I began to poke around, and for the first time there were astronomers who were starting to make this work with a screen, and that's what got me into EAA about a year and a half ago. Boy, I've never looked back. It's just beautiful, isn't it? On a 100% moonlit night, full moon, and we're seeing this material around the outside of NGC 7793. So let's do a little observation here. And we'll say we could clearly see material around the outside of NGC 7990. Oh, I'm sorry, is this 6544 of NGC 6544. Love the Hubble view, and with it in hand, we could actually make out more of our view through this 11-inch scope on this 100% moonlit night. Change the name. Thank you so much, Azray. I was about to record it under the wrong name. You are so right. NGC 6544. I wonder how that happened. I must have skipped by that dialog box a while ago. Okay, now save a scene. Look at that material there. Love it. Okay, now this is interesting. Look at this. We have now observed all of the hidden treasures objects that are 10 degrees and higher that exist right now in this season. So, hello Mike, good to have you on from Georgia. Me gusto, I see two stars moving forward together and stop. From Myrtle Beach, good to have you on board. So we have a couple of choices at this point. We could switch over to the Caldwell list and see if there are any additional objects that have become visible in the Caldwell group. So let's try that. On the Caldwell list, I wonder which one of these. Tell you what, let's do. Let's go like this and open the one that's in the, yes, right here. Time to move on to other stuff, right. Now in the Caldwell list, let's check. We have it set on 15 degrees, that which we haven't observed. We have the time set on now, and now let's refresh this list. Oh, good. There are supposedly 4 objects we can do on the Caldwell list. NGC 300 while we're in the neighborhood. Why not, Stu? Let's go over to Stellarium and hit F3, which brings up our search window. And let's say NGC 300, right there it is. And looks beautiful there. And it is definitely already selected. Our telescope is already connected in stellarium. So now I think we hit, let's see, Control 0, I think is what we'll hit. Control 0, let's try that. And then we say current object slew. Sure enough, it's seeking out. There goes that moon, by the way. Take a look at that moon in the sky cam. Wow! It looks like a giant searchlight. My goodness. That's crazy. It's so big and bright, isn't it? Well, that shows us what part of the sky we're looking in. We're gonna see if we can actually make anything out. This is a big challenge for EAA. Let's stop this live stacking. Did I take a picture of this? I did, didn't I? And the next target is NGC 300. Boy, look how bright that is. That is so bright. I don't even know if there are going to be enough stars to do a plate solve. The moon is so bright. It's below your horizon, Azrae. Not enough stars. So let's stop this sequence. And let's try reducing to like a gain of 200. Would you believe 300? Man. I don't know. We can try that. There goes a satellite or something. Airplane? I guess it's an airplane because one of the lights is red, huh? All right, let's see if there are enough stars to plate solve. Oh, thanks. Appreciate it, Azrae. Southern pinwheel. Yeah, tonight it's the southern moonlight. I wonder, do you think that's it right in the middle? I can't tell. Remove. 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 Still can't plate solve. Boy, I just think it's too close to the moon. So all this talk, this big talk about, you know, observing on, but to put things in perspective, that's what we're looking at. So this is a little too close to the moon tonight, I think, Azrae. And yeah, Jessica's looking at that bright moon too. Too close to the moon, I think, Stu. Caldwell 70, this is the brightest galaxy in the Sculptor group. It's not as bright as the moon tonight. You know, we're just not sure how close we are, but we could just try live stacking and see what we get. There is something patchy in the middle of that, isn't there? Or maybe that's our last object. That's right. Let's clear this frame and have it start over Wow. What a mess, what a mess. NGC 7331 is probably in an okay spot to try, Ricky says. Let's define this as our new black level. And we'll pull the mids back a little, get rid of that haze. There is a bit of a pattern there now, at least. Pretty messy. Still in the sky cam view. Thanks, Don. Nope, not enough stars to plate solve. Well, let's do this. Let's go back here to our Deep Sky Planner. Our tracking and planning software. And let's try slewing to, let me stop the live stacking. Next target. Let's try slewing to C7. See if we can get away from that moon. Just get to a different part of the sky. Don's asking, if you enjoy astronomy content like this, would you click a thumbs up? And Don, that's very kind of you. Thank you so much. Dark matter. Yeah, the moon is super bright here. Yeah. But see, a part of the sky like this, I think we can plate solve and observe just fine. It's just right there beside the moon. It's just out of the realm of possibility, but this is a beautiful sky here. So this is C7, NGC 2403. NGC 2403. Azray's looking at other. Oh, and Don says, yeah, and if you like content like this, don't forget to subscribe. Thank you, Don. You're very kind. We can't forget Ricky recommended 7331. I don't know which one of those we haven't observed yet. See, because our tracking software is telling us about every last Caldwell object that we haven't observed yet that's visible. And they're just these four. So I think these ones that you're bringing up, we must have already observed them in another video. So let's hit these four real quick and then see where our time is. I think we have about a half an hour left. And so we'll run through these four as quickly as we can. And then if you guys have any others. Okay, so I'm going to change the title slide to Caldwell 7, NGC 2403, a galaxy in Camelopardalis. Camelopardalis. All right. Let's do a quick auto stretch. Right there it is in the middle of the frame, huh? We'll pull this dark threshold right about there, and then we'll pump up these mids a bit and zoom in on this. It's really a nice looking galaxy, isn't it? Some foreground stars there that make it a little bit odd, but we can already see after just 80 seconds an arm that's slinging some material out here, can't we? And after just 100 seconds, we can definitely make out the bright core. You can start to see some spiral structure out here. So let's see. After just 80 seconds, we could already see the bright core, some spiral arms, and some of the nebulosity around this spiral galaxy. Approximately 8 million light years away. Wow, this is one of those times where I feel guilty having stopped these photons. But I guess they hit our planet, didn't they? We figured that out the other night. And they would have stopped anyway, wouldn't they? Now I tell you, I wondered if tonight we would be able to see anything from the Caldwell site. So look what I brought along with me, just in case we got to this. So let's find Caldwell 7. It's mixed spiral and camelopardalus. It's a faint constellation. This particular galaxy belongs to the Coma Sculptor cloud, a peppering of gravitationally bound systems that includes our local group. Extends more than 10 million light years beyond its fringe. Having a mass of some 47 billion suns and spanning 98,000 light years of space, NGC 2403 is one of the cloud's more physically impressive members. We see NGC 2403 inclined at 28% from edge on. The galaxy displays 2 tiers of arms. 2 tiers. Those close to the nucleus are tightly wound. And see, we're seeing one of those tightly wound arms right here. And then he says, farther out the arms sweep wide and free. And I would say this is starting to look like an arm, and this is starting to look like an arm. Oops, only 8 million light years, you're right. There are star-forming regions. There's a wide range of brightness. Extremely well-defined elliptical glow punctuated by 2 11th magnitude stars on either side of its core. That would be this, maybe? I don't know. You think? These two, you think? Maybe these two? Or that and this, I bet. The arms are broken into several distinct petals of light, all of which display delicate irregularities. he watched this through a Texas Star Party 20-inch f4 reflector, and he said he'd call it a rose bedashed with dew. With a 10-inch, you can see 3 stars in the galaxy's core. The number increased to 8 with 12-inch. We're seeing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, I think you'd have to say. It's whisking away from us at a speed of 760,000 kilometers per hour. That's fast. That's 6 minutes and 40 seconds. I dropped my Hidden Treasures book over here. Beautiful spiral, 2 sets of arms, 8 or 9 core stars. I wonder if I stop this and go back to live stacking, will it remember? Yeah, it will, and I can save that because I forgot to save that. Okay, now let's go back to the sequencer and start next target. And the next target it has here that it thinks you might be able to find, nice image in stellarium for NGC 2403. Let's see. NGC 2403. That is a nice view. You're right. It's beautiful to see those 2 different sets of rings. All right, let's go to C62, which is NGC 247. NGC 247. So back to sharp cap. NGC 247. Hubble has an amazing picture too. NGC 2403. Wow, doesn't that look like something out of a science fiction movie? It looks like something you'd see in a, I don't know, Stargate. Looks like a Stargate episode. Something they'd fly through in Stargate. Wow, look at those giant balls of fire. Amazing. Yeah, thanks, Stu. That is beautiful. NGC 247, the Claw Galaxy. Gotta see this. Boy, I hope we can image this. We're close to the moon again, aren't we? We do have a number of stars, but we are closer to the moon. Let's look in the sky cam. Yes, we're aiming right back at the moon again. Let's see how we do here. The Claw. Oops, I think I'm going to sneeze. I guess I'm allergic to claw galaxies. Try to drown my sneeze. Stu, the largest star-forming regions ever discovered. Wow, that's cool. Well, it did capture a frame, so that's good. It did recognize a frame, and it is syncing to it. The Claw, Toy Story reference. Yeah, here we go. We're definitely live stacking. Let's do a auto stretch. Boy, we are in the moonlight, but there is a fuzzy patch in the middle. This is a great test. Again, look at the direction the scope is aiming. Right into 100% full moon. Wow, that's live stacking. Let's go over to Stellarium and let's show chart. That's C62. Now where's the moon? Oh, right there it is. So there is we're right under the moon's influence. I wonder in Stellarium, how do you measure that? Let's see. Here. Angle measure. "21 degrees from the moon." Stu says, NGC 247, a dwarf spiral galaxy about 11.1 million light years away in the constellation Cetus. So let's change our title. C62 NGC 247, a dwarf spiral galaxy in Cetus. Boy, right there it is in the middle, but wow. This is a challenge, but I love challenges. I love challenges. We're at 3 minutes. This is NGC 247. What happened to our browser? Did we close the browser window? That's odd, isn't it? I've always thought it was odd that you could accidentally close your browser window and yet keep your stream going, because right now we don't have a browser open to our stream back engine, you see. NGC 247 wiki. Wow. Change title name. Okay, I think we did that. One of several galaxies is gravitationally bound to the Sculptor galaxy, NGC 253. These galaxies form a small core in the center of the Sculptor group, which is one of the nearest groups of galaxies to the Milky Way. Man, that's beautiful, isn't it? Wow, go Hubble. Wow. Well, you see, it's just kind of it's an oval, sort of looks like sort of a, what? A whale image. But you notice there really aren't, even in the Hubble view, there aren't clearly defined arms. They're just somehow some dust lanes or something. Now look here. Okay, I admit. There's not a lot there, is there, with the moon being where it is. You can kind of tell there's a splotch in the middle. But in 5 minutes and 40 seconds, all we have is just that hazy splotch. Through an hydrogen alpha filter, and don't worry about the moon. Jessica says gorgeous. You're very kind, Jessica. Oh, the Hubble view is gorgeous, right? That was taken in La Silla Observatory in Chile. Okay. La Silla. That would mean chair, wouldn't it, in Spanish, Jessica? Let's just save this so we can say we've been here. But you know, in our observation, we're going to say at 6 minutes, we were at 6 minutes on a 100% moonlit night, looking almost directly into the moon, parentheses, 21 degrees away. NGC 247 was a very faint amorphous blob. At the same time, we saw it. That's about all we can say tonight, is that we saw it. It's a big galaxy. Stu says, yeah, you got to give the La Silla Observatory credit where credit's due, right? All right, let's head to a new target and see if we can get away from this moonlight by looking at C24 in Perseus. And this is NGC 127? No, 1275, sorry. NGC 1275. Yes, this is going away from the moon. It's the surfboard galaxy. Woohoo! Or maybe the one we saw was the surfboard galaxy. So once again, the name of this one is NGC 1275. Clarify for us, if you would, Azrae, was that the last galaxy, or is that 1275 that is the surfboard galaxy? I think the scope is settled. So now we're doing a plate solve. This is not a bad patch of the sky, huh? There are a lot of stars visible here, so it should be a lot better off. I see we're about 10 minutes from wrapping up. And I just want to thank everybody for being here tonight. you know, on a moonlit night like this, I think a lot of us would have just folded cards and said, it's not worth it. But see, to me, remember, we are explorers. We're not like here to create some kind of best artistic image we can create. With EAA, we're breathing in the night sky, and learning to battle the moon is part of it. It's just part of the sport. And I love the fact that we can make the most of this that we can on a moonlit night and get in a lot more practice. You notice we're developing, you know, our muscle memory. Notice the times you guys have had to remind me it's still on SkyCam, it's still on the scope cam. That's helping me remember to develop that muscle memory of taking us to the screen. Notice how we had to learn what number of stars would be too few for plate solving to work. You know, we're developing good muscle memory and all that, and I just think it's a great sport, even on a moonlit night, to come out and battle this thing. Okay, so this is a galaxy, but boy, is it right in the middle of that frame, I guess? It must be so tiny. What? Wow, there are a lot of galaxies in this frame. So 1275. You know, this deep sky image annotation, sometimes I can't tell which is which. This is like the smallest galaxy ever. Let's figure out how many arc minutes this is. Two arc minutes. This is 1/30th of a degree. Isn't that an interesting asterism here? You've got this row of stars in a circle, like they were sent out ahead on some scouting mission to blast through things. And you've got this wall here. And this blast mission is going to blast through that wall. You could also say it's an upside down K, right? Oh boy, here we go again. Let's remove these silly bots. This is really not the channel, brother. Oh, NGC 247. Got you, Azray. Stu says, under the full moon, watching the wonder of the sky with Doug. Who needs a dating site with all this? That's right. Stu, that's hilarious. Azray agrees. Michael Waneden. Galaxies all over. Right. Ricky, backwards K. Exactly. Backwards K. Michael Waneden. Yep, K. Well, we need to discover this asterism. What we'll do is we'll control print screen, and we'll record this as the, let's see, libraries, pictures, no, desktop, sharp cap captures. We're going to call this the backwards K asterism, and send this in to Sky and Telescope. So let's go to Stellarium and let's look up C24, show chart. And there's the backwards K right there. Now, what if we said oh, we're on angular. Turn angular off. What if we said center of screen Okay, so we've got a point there. Now we can go up here and we can say we need to ask what are the right ascension deck J2000. So these are the numbers we want to memorize. So let's take a picture of that now. And this is the desktop sharp captures. Oh. Backwards K asterism coordinates. And we'll send this in a sky and telescope and we'll say this is a newly discovered object. It's the backwards K asterism. That's fun, right? Perseus, or a bit of him, Perseus's arm and back. That's a nice program. Turn constellation on in Stellarium and you'll see. Constellations are down here. I have constellations on. It's just that we're zoomed in so tight. Yeah, there's Perseus. So this is a very tiny speck of where Perseus is. Gotcha. So this is C24. Let's do the add observation. And let's go back over and look at our, this galaxy is just 2 arc minutes of extent. So in a RASA, it's super tiny. But while viewing this galaxy, we, quote, discovered the backwards K asterism. We'll send it in to sky and telescope. Yay. So that's C24. I guess we'll remember that, right? All right, let's take a picture here. NGC 1275. Will we remember that? Not sure I will. Let's go here and go to astronomy, and under future procedures, let's say send backwards K asterism to sky and telescope. That was Notion, a little note program I use. All right, let's do this last object of the night, guys. And if you need to go, you go. Let's do a supermassive black hole in the galaxy powers strong jets of particles in the Perseus cluster, causing the gas present to reach 60 million degrees Celsius and emit X-ray light. That's crazy. C51 is our last object of the night. It's also the last one visible. It's IC1613. IC1613. Oh, that's IC. That's kind of like a neat, somebody pointed that out the other night, didn't they? That every time you do an IC object, you're telling it like a verb, a proper noun and a verb, I see it, right? I see 1613. Let's go down here to the title. I see 1613 C51, a galaxy in Cetus. Cetus. Is that right? Cetus? What if I misspelled that? Last object of the night. Hey, thank you guys. There are 13 folks still on the chat. Hey, I was trying to image this a few nights ago. I failed. Well, we'll see. Maybe it's too moonlit tonight for us. But is this a patch of the sky? It's kind of near the moon, isn't it? Yeah, it's kind of near the moon. We'll see how we do. C1613, IC1613, C51. It's an irregular barred dwarf galaxy. It is the most challenging object to see in the Caldwell catalog. What? It hides in the northwestern quadrant of Cetus, and it escaped detection until 1906. I don't see how we're going to see it tonight. If it's that dim or faint. That Messier and the Herschels failed to spot this loose assemblage of dim suns is not surprising. Although IC1613 shines at 9th magnitude, its integrated brightness is deceiving. The galaxy's light is spread across an area of the sky about the size of a quarter moon. Tonight there's a whole moon that's spreading light on it. 6 times fainter than Pluto's brightness. Okay, let's do a live stretch, automated live stretch. Let's pull our darks over to darken our sky so we establish a new norm of what is the dark threshold. Let's move up the mids. Let's go to deep sky image annotation. And it says we're in the frame here, but it finds IC1613 up here somewhere, of all things. Who knows if that's right? Up here it said. But according to plate solving, it should be right here in the middle. Michael, what I was thinking caused something is warping that K. Oh, real spread out looking. Do you think our image annotation is off? Because when we plate solve, it should put it exactly in the middle. Let's put our crosshairs up again. Boy, the one thing about these bots is they are determined. Well, if this is the most difficult Caldwell object, and we're looking into the sun like this, let's come back to this another night. What do you say? Let's also be smart enough to admit that we're not going to be able to see everything on a 100% moonlit night, right? I don't even know where this would be. We could go over here and say, show chart, and then zoom in. Whoop, sorry. Show chart, and then zoom in. Oh, wow. Is that what it's supposed to be? So we could look for a pattern of these 4 stars with a star down here and a 26 Cetius right here running right headlong toward that star. Okay, so this could easily be our running man. So it should be right here. You know what? We might be starting to make it out right there. How about that? Let me darken the sky just a sliver. No, that darkened it. I'm holding the shift key down now for fine tuning. Now let's bring the mids up. Look, it's starting to appear, whatever it is. It's an irregular barred dwarf galaxy. 2.3 million light years distance, so it's about as far as M31. It measures 12,400 light years across. That's like a tenth the size of the Milky Way. Has an intrinsic luminosity of a mere 80 million suns, making it one of the least luminous galaxies known. It's approaching the Milky Way 234 kilometers per second. Might be highly flattened. Its brightest stars are concentrated, rich in supergiants. The Hubble observed it. Talks about how hard it was for him to find it. He said, I thought it was utterly absurd to put it in this catalog. He got to the point that he could easily locate it. It shimmers just above the sky background. It's a tube tapper. He says that helps him see the object more. So over here in our observation, we'll say the faintest galaxy in the Milky Way. The faintest galaxy in the Caldwell list. we chose to observe it on a 100% moonlit night. It's going to hit. Look out, duck. It's approaching Earth at 234 kilometers per second. ASRAE says, there it is. We saw it at 8 minutes in spite of the moon being just 20 degrees distant. Well, it's just like parts of what you can imagine are there. Boy, I can't really. There's that running man. Yeah, right there it is. All right, we're going to save this as seen and come back to this another night, but we did observe everything we could observe on the Caldwell list as well. I just want to say thanks to you guys. You know, we could choose easy objects every night. We could go to the things that are the biggest and the brightest. But like I say, this hopefully is increasing our muscle memory and stretching us as observers. So Don says the Milky Way is the faintest galaxy in the Milky Way, though. Yeah, good, Don. We're working our way through the Caldwell list, the Herschel 400, and the Hidden Treasures list that Stephen James O'Meara wrote about. If you would like to come back and catch our work on those lists, just subscribe to the channel, and also, if you don't mind, hit thumbs up on this video. Now that we've caught up on these lists, we'll keep on working on them all throughout the coming months. Whenever there are enough objects to make another night like this, we'll see it. Otherwise, next observation night, who knows what we'll get into. We probably will take some time to look at some of the objects that we've kind of been stepped away from for the last few months because we've been working on these lists, and maybe it'll be fun to go back and see some of the bigger, brighter objects. So stay tuned. We'll look forward to that. And once again, appreciate you guys being with us. It's kind of hard to say goodbye to you, but I know it is late, so let's get some sleep, and I hope you have a great weekend where you are. Once again, our hearts go out to those who might be suffering because of picking up stuff from the hurricane still. Our hearts go out, and to those Afghans that are trying to survive that we helped tonight because of that super chat gift, we'll look forward to helping them some more. God bless. Have a great evening. Good night from Emerald Hill Skies.